them to abandon their poetry lists, which was extremely controversial and was and led to protests from government ministers like Alan Howarth and so on, which is unparalleled really. And they discarded a whole series of extremely eminent and well-known writers. But Michael Schmidt stepped in and joined a kind of local team to keep some of those established poets going, but also to introduce a whole raft of new poets that worked in two ways. And the first kind of significant, I was with David Constantine and Hermione Lee. I was kind of part of the local team, and we got together this anthology in the year 1000 of new writers, including Jenny, the 6 new voices. I'm just going to read a very brief bit from the beginning of the second anthology, because that describes really what the effect of the first anthology was. In fact, the first anthology was a Poetry Book Society recommendation, so it was a big success really. But David Constantine wrote the introduction to the second one, and he said this. He said, that first collection, the one that Jenny is in, further demonstrates the qualities we admire. We want urgency, lively apprehension, and the patience and the necessary craft to convert merely personal insights and experiences into effective poems. We like poems that manifestly deal with things that matter, which Maya has just borne out, I think. Such things are everywhere around us, in science, in politics, in private happiness and grief. The poems assembled here are proof of that. And I think that those categories describe what Jenny's work is like, in all its kind of variety as a whole. And which, I'll leave it to her to demonstrate it. If I had read a single poem, I'd have read the poem Seals from the first group of 6, which is really a real masterpiece, I think. But I think that the range of moods and topics that Jenny covers are quite extraordinary, including things like ill health, various sort of not prohibited subjects, but subjects that are absolutely at the centre of everybody's lives. I think everything that Jenny writes, that is true. So I'm looking forward to hearing the reading from the new book.
Thank you so much, Bernard. And I met Bernard when I've been warned not to ramble on, but I must just say this, because in my 50s, I was lucky enough through my friend Terry Jones, who had a connection with Teddy Hall, to be accepted by Lucy Newlyn, who was very unusual in professors of English at the time at Oxford University, in actually favouring mature students. So usually a mature student was someone of 25. Someone in their 50s was beyond the pale normally at Balliol or somewhere like that. I think it was the end of the first year when one of the most wonderful things happened in that Bernard agreed to be my supervisor for my first essay, which was on lyric poetry. So I used to go to Wadham at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we'd talk about poetry, and then we'd have a glass of sherry. I thought, heaven can't get any better than this. So I must get on now and give a bit of a reading. I just want to say, from base materials, the title comes from a central sequence, which was a reimagining of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. And we have to call it transcreation now, because I didn't translate it because I don't read old Persian or Farsi, so I did it from other people's translations, mainly Edward Fitzgerald's 1859 translation, which went on to be the most popular book of poetry in the English-speaking world for many, many years, although it's rather derided now. And one of the verses is talking to the creator, who comes in many guises, as a film director, in my version anyway, as a film director, as a potter, as a chess player, as someone who's pulling the strings all the time, and the only person really who knows what on earth's going on. And so the verse says, you who made us from base materials, put a snake in paradise to tempt us, then asked us to be perfect. We will only forgive you if you can forgive us. So, and this, the cover, I just need to say, is a wonderful painting by my friend Monica Beisner. And it's actually Daphne escaping from Apollo, and she calls out, Apollo's chasing her through the forest, intent on rape, and she cries out to her father, the river god Peneus, and he turns her into a laurel tree. But I think this picture, this painting has so much energy, it looks like spirit bursting out of matter. And that's what I hope, and I think a lot of the poems in the book are about the struggle of the human spirit to somehow find its way in the world without all the contraptions and things that slow us down, and find a way to travel through the universe, which we were all born to do, I think. So I'm not going to read very long. I'm going to start with a lockdown poem called Turning. Because of the emptiness of the skies, that plane, when it went over, looked like a warplane, quiet as a midday moon, its drone silenced by the central heating coming on. It was 5 to 4 on a day of greyness and mating pigeons. The shudder of its fuselage, shouldering through cloud its 1,000 dull tons, made my mind shy away, turning instead to the familiarity of the courting birds. The way my garden comes slowly into focus each morning, like a negative in a darkroom developing tray. And I thought how Eurydice, approaching the blinding exit, might have called out to Orpheus to make him turn, while she in turn turned back, afraid to step into the light. And I thought that lockdown situation which was enforced was something that introverts sort of relate to, you know, and I think most writers have an introvert somewhere tucked away. I certainly do. And it's often easier actually not to take that step into the light. But we need to do it. And this poem was also written in lockdown. I think I'd been reading the Mabinogi. Do you know the old Welsh tales? And there's a wonderful story about a girl who's made out of flowers, especially for the prince. And her name is Blodeuwedd. I think any Welsh people can correct me. But that's where the idea came from. But again, it's about sort of being trapped in a way. And the other thing is that although Adam was asked to name everything in the world, Eve was asked to name the birds. So that's her little contribution. As Adam lay sleeping, did Eve, looking out from between his ribs into thin air, first catch a glimpse of it, green and shining on its bough, and wonder how it would feel to be born of blossom, how it would feel to be made of freshness and juice, how the coolness would feel against the coolness of her own cool body, curled round her pips, a mother to them, dreaming and ripening on the tree. And then the fall into soft leaf litter, the splitting peel, the waking to an apple-tasting world, where she, hearing clearly for the first time the tumultuous singing of the birds, could set about the task of naming them. Hard doing things one-handed.
Unlike your speech Turner for Mozart.
Yes. This is a little eco-poem, a little sonnet on rhyme. It's called Let Them Eat Violets. Like children on a Sunday morning, out with some money to buy bread, who can't wait to reach grass to sit on before eating their pain au chocolat, the eldest child withholding her younger sister's portion, the younger sister more used to watching clouds and making pictures from them, looking at her empty hands and crying for what she does not have, has lost. So fast the change from have to have not, thrones to tumbrils. And also Adnan, my great friend Adnan, we've been working together for 12 years, translating each other's poetry on a project called Writing Mesopotamia, which aims to build bridges between Arabic and English speaking communities. So, actually, do I need this? I'll shout. Do I need it?
No.
Can you hear me without?
Well, we don't know.
So, so this is 10 poems by Adnan, translated by myself with Allard Juma, and the illustrations are by Kate Hazel. So the first one, Adnan will...
Just waiting to make it a surprise.
Adnan, you start.
العصفور يصدح داخل قفصه أنا أرنو إليه وكذلك قطة البيت كلانا يفترس أيامه.
The canary chirrups in his cage. I look at him, and so does the cat, munching him day after day.
كرش المتدلي ربة يدفعها أمامه مثقلة بأطعمة الآخرين.
His paunch sticks out in front of him like a barrow load of other people's food.
بين أصابعنا المتشابكة على الطاولة كثيرا ما ينسج العنكبوت خيوط وحدتي.
Between our intertwined fingers on the table, the spider spins a web of lonely threads.
عندما لم يرني البحر ترك لي عنوانه زرقة عينيك وغادرني.
This is my favourite. The sea came when I was out. It left me its address in the blue of your eyes.
كثرة الطعنات وراء ظهري دفعتني كثيرا إلى الأمام.
People people who stabbed me in the back only push me further forwards.
Last one I've got.
الشعراء الأكثر قامة كثيرا ما يضعون لقصائدهم كعوبا عالية.
Short poets often put high heels on their poems. Thank you so much.